Good morning, everyone. This is Bruno from Famic Technologies Automation Studio. Again, I'd like to thank you guys for attending the second of our series of Automation Studio webinars. Um, so again, for those who attended last week's webinar on the hydraulics manifold developments, normally you should have already received a copy of that video. If anybody hasn't, you can always reach to us by email. We'll be glad to find ways to be able to provide you that video, but keep in mind that all of our videos for these webinars will be posted on our website. So today we'll be focusing on the new features related to educational and training. It'll be my colleague Christian will be presenting those features to you. This is kind of a quick overview of the topics that we'll be going through. My colleague Christian will be going through that a little bit more in detail. And I'd just like to remind you, so during the presentation, if you have questions, please feel free to communicate to us through the chat, the questions chat, and we'll be able to answer your questions throughout the presentation. We'll reserve also a Q&A session at the end, so that way if there's any questions that we want to be able to address with the entire audience, we can do that. So without further ado, my colleague Christian will now be able to present.
On what's new on Automation Studio E8. As you probably know, we have many people connected to this presentation, so we will not be able to take any question during the presentation, but at the end, I will remain online for at least 30 minutes. If anyone has questions, you can just type in the question tab of the application so I can answer it after the presentation. So today we'll see the new welcome screen, the student toolbar, the feature of zooming bigger the symbols in the library, new illustrated libraries, the virtual trainers, flexible wires, direct access to link type, and simulation in editing mode. So thanks all for being here today, and let's start the presentation. So let's start with the welcome screen in version E8. When launching Automation Studio, this window will pop up on your screen. This new welcome screens enable you to choose different templates that are pre-made to help you guide you through which technology you want to start with. First of all, this interface offers you the home tab, the new, so creating a new project, opening a template that you already made that could be saved in the recent area, or you can browse through your Windows or your computer, sorry. You can also link to the tutorials on our website and demo project also on our website, and the options that you can set for your interface of Automation Studio. This new screen, what I like about it, it's the really intuitive top part where, for example, if you want to work on an electrical project, you will double click on the electrical folder. That will offer three new choices: symbols, illustrated components, or virtual trainers. Let me explain the three differences. Symbols, if you click twice, this is basically empty templates that will offer you to do schematic with all the ISO, NEMA, IEC standard symbols. If we go back and we go to illustrated component, this will open a blank sheet, but will also open the library of these illustrated components so you can start dragging and dropping these components on your sheet and connecting them together. The new options, I would say, is the virtual trainers. If you click twice here, you will have all these virtual trainers that were pre-made in version E8 for you to be able to start connecting components right away without having to bring them out of your library and drag and drop. And sometimes when we have too many of them, like here you see the residential electricity by itself has about probably 14 templates. So we have the luxury of creating folders in these structure to incorporate these models. So this new interface allows you to navigate. You can go to PLC. You want to go to illustrated components. You will have your different brands of PLC that you can learn how to wire before you actually run the program. Or you can also go, let's say, to virtual trainers. Let's say we've made some for Allen Bradley and Siemens. If you open Allen Bradley, you have all these virtual trainers here, which are pre-animated, And when you open up the project, will have on one side the virtual trainer, on the other side the PLC, and the data table is already made, so students can just right away start writing the program to control the virtual system. So this is the new welcome screen in Automation Studio. Okay, now the second topic is the student toolbar. So let's open an electrical model. Let's keep it simple and just use the symbol template. So as you can see now, we have a blank document because we chose the symbol option, and the library only display the symbols that we can use for this template. If you go on top here, we see usually it opens in the home tab, and then we have the student one here, which incorporate pretty much everything the student needs to make a schematic. You see we have the printing feature, the line type if you want to use the new flexible wire and so on, simulation, the plotters, measuring instrument, multimeter, and so on. We can do the shape here. We can modify the text, colors. We can adjust the position, the alignment, and so on. So everything was grouped into one toolbar, which incorporates the feature that students would need to create schematic. If you click on the simplified ribbon bar on the left side, this will automatically hide all the other toolbar and just leave the student and the support one visible. So if you close Automation Studio with that layout, the software will reopen automatically, only showing the student toolbar. But keep in mind that if you're missing some features, you can always click back here and re-show all the toolbar in Automation Studio. So this is the new student toolbar. Now the next topic, the library zone. Um, it may have happened to you before when you're in Automation Studio. Sometimes you're using computers or laptop that has like a 4K screen or very high resolution, and when you click on the magnifier, was like pretty much the biggest size you could go, maybe like to this size or something like that. Now, as you can see, we can go much bigger in the library to see the component. You may say it's not really needed because we see what we need, but sometime if you open, let's say, a illustrated library, let's see if I open motor control and renewable energy. You see if you go motor control and you choose, let's say, a relay, you see here the relay type is important and the pinout too, but we don't really see much. So with that new zooming feature, it enables us to see much bigger the component and being able to choose the one that we want more easily. Okay, so it's a small feature, but it could be very handy, especially when you have some big resolution screens. Okay, so now let's talk about the illustrated libraries in Automation Studio. As you can see here, let me just close this one back. So we have an orange icon like that in the Library Explorer. When you click on this library, it will bring up illustrated components. These were basically started when the COVID hit. A lot of schools lost access to their trainers, and they needed a way to continue teaching students how to connect component and not just how to do the schematic on the software. So we have one for some DC components, so resistors, capacitors, inductors, some gates, so on, that you can put on a breadboard or on a white sheet. We've created also some input-output PLC cards that can be inserted on electrotechnical document. We've renamed, for some of you that already use these libraries, we've renamed the renewable energy library to motor control and renewable energy because we've added much more components for motor control, but you have also some wind turbine, solar panel, PVM, and things like that in that library as well. We have the residential electricity, the some loads on cylinder that are more visible. When you do a schematic with hydraulic or pneumatic, you can put a weight on the cylinder, but it doesn't show anywhere. So using these components, you actually see the weight at the end. Either it's pulling on it, you're pushing against, the friction and so on, or against a spring. So you can use this library. We have the hydraulic illustrated component. Hydraulic cross-section view. So you can actually build schematic and see the cutaway like that as you go in simulation. This one, it's cutaway animation that can be associated with a component of your symbol diagram. Okay, we have some illustrated PLCs. These are pretty handy because you can actually teach your students how to wire up inputs and outputs on different type of PLCs. So when they'll go out there in the real world and they're faced with a PLC that they've never seen before, they're not going to freak out. They're going to just do like they did at school. They're going to go read the specification for that PLC and just connect it the way it should. We also have the pneumatic illustrated component and pneumatic cross-section component as well. So let's say if I open one of these, just to give you an idea, say if I do a pneumatic like that illustrated, I just click here. Okay, I will need a regular document because we've opened an electrotechnical model. So let me just go and open a standard diagram, which supports pneumatic, hydraulic, and so on. So here you see if I have my components, so I can use an FRL like that. I can put like a pressure source. Let's do something very quick, okay? So I'm going to put like a 3-2 way valve like this and a actuator. Let's take a single acting actuator like this. So let me just do a zoom all components so we see them bigger. And now I can just put my connections like that between components. So this is going to be my input pressure. This will activate the cylinder. And I need to put also an exhaust, which could be either adjustable exhaust or just a quick exhaust. So let's put a quick exhaust like that. I can choose my line if I want like this and actually put the line much thicker, if you want to have a better look. And then when you go into the simulation mode, I'm going to push here and I can see the animation of my circuit. So these illustrated components can be used on a white sheet or sometime on virtual trainers that like we'll see a bit later on, okay? And you can always combine. So let's say you're missing a very specific component, you can come in the pneumatic library here, take let's say a sequencer, for example, or just like let's just take a relay like this. You can drag it on the screen and still connect these to it and it's going to work, okay? It just gives you another way of seeing the components. That's it for the illustrated libraries. Okay, now it's time to talk about the virtual trainers. For me, I think this is the best addition in the software for a long time. We have pre-created, I would say, close to 40 virtual trainers of different technologies, which enable students to start making connection without having to drag and drop or create schematic. It's like when you buy a trainer. Trainer comes in, here's your equipment, just run the wires between them. So let me show you about those virtual trainer. So when we go here in the software and we do new, we will see these folder that we remember we saw it the first time for the welcome screen. And all the virtual trainers, they're accessible you click here electrical, you see virtual trainers. And here they are, okay? So let's open one just to show you how it works. Then I'm going to show you a Word document in which I have all the virtual trainers uh, to show you which ones are available. So if I open, for example, this Relay Logic here, virtual trainer, we have a virtual trainer that represents more like what you would purchase out there. So with banana cables. And on these trainers, usually you actually see the symbol beside the on your trainer. You see here, for example, the relays, we see the coil, we see the open and close contact, the button, we see the open, the close button, the limit switch, and so on. And you see here, we see the motor symbol and the contact. So this is more, I would say, probably the introduction for the student to these trainers. When you open a trainer like that, it will also open by default a library that can be used with this trainer. You see, if I come here and I go relays, you see I have some relays down here. Then I can just add to this trainer, lamps, button, put meter, some motor control and components. Because keep in mind that all these trainers, they are locked. You see, I cannot move these components. They're locked there. Okay? But as an instructor, if you press on F5 on your keyboard, or if you go to view here, I think oh sorry, it's in edit. You go layer properties. You see we have two layers, the workspace and this is the trainer. So right now it is locked. You see? If I unlock it, then you see I can select the component and move them around. Okay? So you can change these to reflect what you have. So we're getting even more closer now to a digital twin because you can recreate exactly the trainer you have in class. Or if you start with students and you don't want them to be to have all these components first, you can remove some and resave that file with only the component that you want them to see. So let's lock it back and close this. The way it works is quite easy. You can directly position yourself on the connection port and make some connections. So let's say I'm going to connect this to my push button, and you see by default we have the flexible wires that are used with these trainers, like banana jack basically. And once you've made your connection, you can choose here. I want to have a red wire, let's say. There you go. And then if you click on the wire, you see if you take this handle, you can adjust the wire to look the way you want. And on all these trainers, we have a little tips and tricks here on the left. You see where how to adjust the line, how to connect, disconnect, and so on. So now let's say I'm going to come from here. I'm going to go to a relay. Let's say I want this one to be black, let's say, and I'm going to adjust the line because I want it to go like this. So this goes to my relay. And then from the relay, I'm just going to go directly here. Okay. Then I'm going to power my contacts. I'm going to put a jump between these two like this. And let's put this one blue. I forgot. So when I click on it, I can just come here and put it blue because it goes to the neutral, the ground, let's say. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the normally open and let's say trigger this cylinder, for example. So I'm going to come here. And this one, I'm going to bring it here also. I could have used a lamp. I mean, like I say, you see in here, you don't like the way this line goes. You can just, again, you can always adjust them. Okay. So it's easy to make the circuit look the way you want. And now if I launch the simulation, if I push the button here, you see I just triggered my cylinder. But it's not going back because there's no spring here. I need to energize the other coil. So you see how easy and quick it is to make a schematic using these virtual trainers. And students really feel like they're putting banana cable between the components. And we use by default the flexible wires because with straight line on this, it would be kind of hard because you would be overlapping all these connection ports and so on. Okay. But if you want to have a straight line, you can just go here and when you go in editing mode, if you stop, you see you can always go to the direct link like we used to have. And if I click here, then I'm going to be able to make my connections like this, but it's going to be straight lines. So you can combine both on your virtual trainer. Okay, so I really see that this could be a good way to introduce the students to Automation Studio by having them just connect things like that on these virtual trainer. So right now I'm going to show you a list of the virtual trainers that we have in Automation Studio. Okay, so let me open my Word document here. So we have some from PLC. So here's a compact logic. A lot of trainers out there, when you purchase them, you have toggle switches like that, and you have some lights. And depending on the program you put inside the PLC, when you flip a switch, a light's going to open after a certain time or straight ahead and things like that. Okay, so we have the compact logic like that. We have the compact logic, but this time with banana cable where you have to connect to some inputs and some outputs. But here you also have to wire up your PLC. So you need to know how this PLC works, how you wire up the input, how you wire up the output. You have your 120 source here, you have your power supply over here, and then you can run the connections. Then the next trainer is the same thing, but this time using real looking components. So we don't see the symbols anymore. Everything is there, just run the connection. So we have some sensors here, like a proximity sensor, a photocell, mechanical, float sensor. In simulation mode, you click on them to activate them. Okay? We did the same thing for MicroLogic, because if you want to work with the 500 or the 5000, we offer both. And the same thing again, so just toggle switch lights, real trainers, or with real components. We did the same thing with Siemens also, S7-1200, where you have the same thing again like we saw for the other PLCs, basically. We also did that for hydraulic. We have two models for hydraulic. This is the more complex one, and we have one that is more simpler. But again, keep in mind, you can always edit these trainers and just put the component that you want on them. We have an electro hydraulic, which uses, again, the trainer view, and the same trainer with more realistic relay view like that. We have the pneumatic. Again, we have two model for the pneumatic only, and we have again electro pneumatic and the one with the relays. We also have a breadboard where you can use the DC library to put components straight on the breadboard and make your connections. Okay, I know we've created we have a new component in electrical. They create the op amps in the library, but because it was released right before the version was certified, we didn't have time to put chips like these, like the 555 and the 74 and series for the op amps. Okay, so this will come later on, but nothing stops you from putting an op amp in on the breadboard or beside it and just run the wires to the breadboard to connect it. We have a basic DC circuit like that, you know. So just resistors, put potmeters, capacitors, inductors, uh, diodes, batteries, and just take measure. And all these trainers, you can use the multimeter, oscilloscope to take measurement also. We have motor control. So here you see we have a contactor, reverse motor starter, the manual motor starter, overload, breaker, lights, switches, relays, timer. So you can actually run the wires, make the connection to your motor, and just make it work. And again, this is more like a trainer, so you see the symbols. But then we also have the version where we don't see the symbols. That allows us to put more component on it also. You see, we have here a drum switch, we have a safety relay, um, and other components like that that you can use. But again, keep in mind that if you open the illustrated library for motor control, you can modify this and put the symbol or the component that you want the students to use. And if you're missing components, this is very important, okay? On all the trainers, if you say, hey, Chris, it would be nice if we could put like this type of component on it. Well, please let us know. Okay. This will be a win-win situation where you will have the component that you want, and then we can provide that to all our customers afterwards. So this will help us put a lot more components in these libraries and getting even closer to making sure you have all the components that you need. Okay. We also have a VFD, so a PowerFlex 525. So again, with the banana jacks or with just connecting directly to the VFD. We have here, it's like more for automotive department. They have special relays like that. So we actually created the relay with the real pinout numbers and things like that. We have a flasher at the bottom, the park, reverse, brake, so you can connect lights and just have it more fun for students to see something like animated also on the trainer. This is a nice one. I like it's because it on one sheet like that, you show your students. Okay, let's make a schematic of just the relay when it's energized, the green light open, and when it's not energized, the red light open, let's say. Then you can go down and do the same thing, but using a more trainer approach. And on the right side, you can do the same thing, but using more realistic component, 24 volt or 120 volt. We have a relay logic. That's the one I opened before to make a little circuit for you. And the same thing we have with real looking components again. And you can see all the pinouts on the relays. So students have to go look on the little drawing and try to figure out which is my open contact and my closed contact. We have a real system. This is like a garage door that's animated also. So if you run your wires and you connect the motor, the door is going to start going up and then it's going to trigger the mechanical contact on top. So if you connect to the terminal strip, to the terminal blocks, to read that mechanical contact to trigger the reverse of the motor and things like this, well, you can just run your wires and it's going to work and simulate visually also for students. We have poly solar panels. You see we have the PVM, the inverter, and we've put a bit of residential electricity components so you can actually trigger some loads and see how this will drain the battery down. We did one for the mono solar panel and also for wind turbine. So we have a smaller wind turbines at the bottom on the left and bigger ones on the right. And on these trainers, you can actually click on the wind to adjust the wind speed and see the effect on your wind turbine. And then we have the residential electricity. For residential electricity, we have over like 14 virtual trainers. And you know what? We've tried to put a bit of a, you see like the first one on top here. Let me zoom in a bit. You see this one, it's simple. One light, one switch. But we have one way that you can bring the power to the light first, and the other one, the power goes to the switch. But this, so we try to offer always, like even if you have like a three-way switch, you know, the power comes to the light or the power comes to the switch. It's two different wiring type. Okay, so we have a bunch of different laid out where you can use like GFI switches. We have sealer fan, baseboard heaters to see the current and so on. Here you see it's more like a bathroom where you have a fan, light, the switches, and GFI outlet. So we've tried to create a lot of different scenarios for the students to be able to practice their wiring skills. And you know, when you're using the flexible wires, I mean, it looks really cool when you do your schematic. Because let me show you how it looks when you do that. So you see, this is a circuit that's been connected using the residential electricity. So as you can see, it looks pretty cool. You know, it looks like what you'll see online or on pictures and so on. So let me just show you a couple of pre-wired schematic. You see, this one is an electro-pneumatic diagram. This one is a PLC controlling a cylinder. This one is just hydraulic schematic. This one is using the relay that we can connect and do some simulation. Uh, the relay we did before, a bit of the automotive schematic. So you see, it's very interesting to see that different approach that we just provide. So this is what I wanted to show you for the virtual trainers. The next feature is the flexible wires. Let's go to Automation Studio. So let's take the same example we worked on before. So you see, basically, when you click on a flexible wire, you can change the path of your wire like this. Let me just take a longer one so we can see better. Okay, so I can take this, I can change the path, like, you know, having those two handles, that's good. But let's say I wanted to come here and down here and up here. Then you can click on the plus here to add a rotation point like this where you can actually change the path of your line like that. Okay, so there's a way that you can add some sections like this, which allows you to make more adjustment on your line. And let's say you say, you know what, Chris, I want this line here to be straight for any reason, this portion of the line. You click on it, you go here, straight line, and you click on this segment, and you see it became straight. If I click on this one just to show you, it becomes straight also. Okay, so this may be something that you may need. And if you put a point by mistake, you want to remove it, you just click on the minus here and you just remove the line. Okay, so it's pretty flexible, but this is the only thing I can show you on the new flexible wire, and it's accessible by here on the menu, curved link. That's how it's called. Okay, the next topic is direct access to link type. If we go back to the same schematic we did, this is just the way that if you click on a line, it will offer you directly here different type. Like here it's black, blue, and red. But let's see if we open a motor control template. So on this motor control virtual trainer, you see if I start making a connection, let's say I bring my L1 here, the choices will be different. In this one, I could put like a line 1, which will look more like the same color, let's say. If I take this and I copy it here, and I just connect this here, and this one I say, okay, this is line 2, then it's going to be orange. And then if I go here and I make a connection like that, well, this one, if I do line 3, it's going to be blue. So you see, we try to make the axis, the link type, to match a bit the template you're working on. Let's show you what happens if, let's say, I open a residential electricity, for example. On, on the residential electricity, then we see different wires. For example, if I come here and I connect, let's say, the ground over here, and I adjust like that, let's say, this one I'm going to have, you see, ground, 10 gauge, 12, 14, aught, neutral, and traveler. So if I put ground 12 gauge, it's going to be green like that. If I do another line like this one here, again, I would adjust my wire so it looks a bit better. And this one, I would say, okay, this one is the aught 14 gauge, let's say, and so on. So we try to match the line type with the template that you're working on. And these line type can be changed also if you want to have different ones. If that's the case, just send me an email and we can do an online presentation where I can just show you how to change these line types with the templates. Okay, the last topic is simulation with editing color. I know I'm a bit over 30 minutes, but this will take just 1 minute. So let's go for it. Here I opened a residential electricity just to show you that, you see, if I taken the time to configure all my lines color when I'm doing my schematic, I want to keep them when I go in simulation, because if I go simulation here, you see, I have all my line type. And if I want to do some troubleshooting here, I can actually take my measuring instrument and measure, let's say, the voltage at different location. You see, if I open, oh, sorry, it's AC voltage. So using the right would be pretty much helpful. So you see I have my 120 volt on here, and if I turn them off, it just go back off. Okay, imagine if we did not activate that keep color in simulation. If I right click here and I go document properties, I go to the electrical standard, and with the electrical standard, if I go simulation, I say simulation, not edition appearance, but let's say current type, you'll see what happened is that all the lines would become gray and green. So how can you troubleshoot like this? Okay, so that feature was really important with the virtual trainers. So all the virtual trainers by default, when you go in simulation, it will keep the editing color. If for any reason you want to show the voltage or current view of the simulation, you can change it also. Okay, but by default, everything will keep editing color in simulation. Okay, so we've completed the review of the topics that we've established at the beginning. But if you want to stick around for 1 more minute, you won't regret this. It's very important. You see, when I open a new project, let's say if I go in the virtual system folder, Allen Bradley 5000, and I choose one of these virtual systems. All these virtual systems are pre-animated machine for which the students just build a logic to control them. So let's open the pick and place tab, for example. You see it opens two sheets because one is the ladder diagram that will control this, and the other one is a system beside it like this. So the data table has already been pre-made in Automation Studio, so the students can start writing the program right away. So if, for example, I take like an XIC here, and let's say you see you have all the variables at the bottom that are on my schematic that are displayed here. So let's say if I just when I hit the button start, so my start is going to be over here. I just want the cylinder B to move. Okay, I'm going to make it very simple. I'm going to link it to out cylinder B extend, let's say. Okay, and I'm going to connect these two together. So now when I run the simulation, basically if I hit the start button, I make the cylinder B move like this. And then I can read that prox, do something else, so it's for the students to do the logic to control this system. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. That really ends our presentation today. I will remain online for the next 15-30 minutes, as long as it takes. Type your question in the question tab, and I'll answer it live today during the presentation. So thanks again. If there's any question, I'm here to help you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Christian. We'll now be moving to the questions and answers part of it. So yeah, friendly reminder, if you're going to be posting questions, please use the questions box. Okay, I guess we can get started on that. Christian, I will make you presenter here.
Okay.
So you can choose the screen you want to. Okay,
Okay, I'm
great.
showing my screen now. Good.
Great. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, we have a question. These virtual trainers are very nice. What happens if I have a different component? For example, I use Allen Bradley instead of Automation Direct. I saw in your trainers. Can I request FAMIT to create illustrated components that are missing from my virtual trainer?
That's a good question. Yes, we can do that, and we strongly recommend customers to do it because this helps us build our library of illustrated components with components that are used by customers. For example, if I just use the pneumatic here library, one of the customers asked us to create a pneumatic cylinder pushing against the spring. Okay, so we did not have that. We did not have that component in our library, so we actually created like this one here. Okay, so we can do things like that, but in this case, we actually ask also the customer to provide us with some readings when the cylinder, let's say it's 25% out, 50% out, 75% out. So we can adjust the resistive curve of that cylinder to reproduce the accurate reading. And the customer's feedback was that the students were impressed how close to reality the simulation was when they were taking measurements on these. So yes, we can adjust or create new components. For example, if you go here in the contactor, we have right now like a Schneider model, but if you want to have like an Allen Bradley model or something like that, well, you just let us know and we'll be happy to provide them to you.
Great. I have another question here. Do you have any level transmitters and hydraulic systems for the tank?
This for the illustrated view at this point, we don't, but that's a very good component that we can add. So definitely, if you wouldn't mind sending an email to your representative here at FAMIC with the more information on what you would like to see, how you would like to see it, we can definitely look into it and give you some feedback on how it will be created, and then we can provide the components to you. Sometimes you may ask for something that we cannot do, but in that case, we'll let you know. But like you've seen before with the presentation, we can do a lot of things with the customization and the flexibility of Automation Studio.
Great, thank you. Another question here. Do these new features appear automatically in the latest version of Automation Studio?
Yes, when you will install the latest version 8, all these trainers are automatically inserted or automatically accessible. You don't need to install anything else, okay? So if you're running version 7 right now, 7.1, or version 8, SR1 and things like this, please install the latest one. It's E8 SR3, and all these trainers will be already loaded on your package, ready to use for you and your students.
Okay, thank you. Another question here. I really like what I saw today. Was this presentation recorded, and uh, would it be possible to have a link of the recording so I can share it with my colleagues?
Yeah, I guess you could have answered that one, but
Yeah,
yes, definitely. That presentation was recorded and will be sent also by default to everyone that registered. Even if some people were not able to come to the presentation today for any reason, they will still get the link to review the video that we did today.
okay. I have another similar question. Can we schedule a presentation with some of my colleagues more oriented towards our needs?
Yeah, definitely. You can send an email to your representative and ask about that, and then we can take the time to explore a more targeted area. And just to give you an example, we've worked with a lot of aviation program, and they actually let us know that their electrical components are different than what we have in our library. So we just created a new library for aeronautics components. So you see, if you never ask, you will never know. Okay, we can do many things, so please don't hesitate to do it, and then we can provide you with the information afterwards.
Good. We have another question here coming up. Can you demo the hydraulic virtual trainers, something like a piston pump with load sense, pressure compensated control connected to a directional valve, closed center LS, uh, work ports connected to a motor and cylinder actuators? I don't know if you have something like that prepared. If not, we can always uh, contact you for a demonstration. Yeah, Christian, I don't know if you're still with us.
Yeah, sorry, I just cut my mic because I have a bit of cough here. So, what I was going to say is that these virtual trainers were made first of all to help uh, customers to start using the software efficiently with their students. So these trainers are pretty much basic trainers. You know, if you open the hydraulic, you see we don't have any load sensing or a special pump like this, but that does not stop us from making one. And when we say that your input is very important, because what what you need are that you just explained, maybe somebody else have the same needs. So if we create that trainer with your help, then we're going to save this trainer for a newer version of Automation Studio that will be in the list that we just provided. So for now, this is a more advanced. So no, we don't have a trainer for it, but we would definitely be interested in learning more about your needs and creating one. And then after that, it will be automatically delivered with the software. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, but I wish I could show you something right now, but I don't have anything with load sensing pre-made.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe for the attendee, maybe contact us. We can maybe look a little bit more in detail and maybe propose an online demonstration, prepare some content for you.
Mhm.
The thing is that keep in mind with the illustrated components, we built them, internally to facilitate for the users, but they're built using tools that are already available in Automation Studio. So because these type of components exist, like load sense, pumps, for example, it doesn't stop us from creating those type of things. We're just looking, where do we put the efforts, and based on client requests, we can kind of put the efforts where they're needed. Okay, another question here. Do the student is available for standard customers for getting trained to improve their knowledge? I'm not sure if I understand this question.
Do the students is available for standard customers or get trained to improve? Well, about if I can say something about training and for students and so on, when you purchase Automation Studio, the annual maintenance comes with 2 hours online training. Okay, so we can schedule online training with the instructors. And I mean, if you want to project this training on a projector in your classroom and have all your students attend to it, well, for us, it's the same effort, you know, so we can definitely recommend that. But keep in mind, we have quick start guides, training videos. We have over 300 demos on our website that you can open, change, resave at will. So please, we do have some tools to make the software, make you efficient with the software very quickly, whether it's for students or for instructors. So please don't hesitate to send us an email. We'll provide you with all the details.
Good. We have another question here. I have a professional license. Are the educational features available to me?
Yes, they're a bit placed differently. Maybe I'm not sure if we can show it if I have a colleague that has a professional edition open, but you have access to these trainer. They're just located at a different place. Okay, so I don't know, Bruno, if you can, do you have a professional that you can share?
I don't. I didn't have Automation Studio
Yeah,
open,
I
so
I have it open. If you want, I can show it. You'll have to tell
Okay,
me where they are, though I haven't used them in the professional. But I can share my screen. Just let me see. Let me see. Okay, so you can see my screen.
yes.
Christian, they're in the educational templates. Is this where they are? Yeah, so they're here. So we have them, the templates, educational templates, then hydraulic, for example, or the different technologies. So they're all there. So they are here. They're just organized slightly differently to what Christian was showing in the educational version. I guess, is that it? Does that answer the question?
I think it did. Thanks.
Okay.
We have another question. Well, Bruno, I mean, we just received one now.
Yeah, from another one. Yeah, the question is, if you purchase normal standard from industry, can we have access to the student demo for the improved knowledge? I think I think it's basically to kind of similar question as this. If you buy the professional edition of Automation Studio, you can still gain access to the educational features. The templates for the trainers are still available. It's just important that you have the modules that are needed. So, for example, if you want to use some of the like electrical illustrated libraries, you need to make sure that you have the module for that. Yeah, go ahead, Christian. It looks like you're presenting something yourself or Shane. I don't know who's presenting
No,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. Shane was showing how to turn on the student toolbar in professional edition. It's not turned on by default, but it can be triggered if need be. And like Bruno was saying, educational licenses have multiple modules included. So to open these demos that we have online, yes, you do have access to them. But like Bruno said, if you purchase like an hydraulic package, professional edition, if you want to open an electrical circuit, it will just tell you that you're missing the module for it. But they are available. The professional edition, I mean, it's the biggest version that we have, so it does opens everything we have in the educational version.
Good. Okay, I think, well, there's another question here. How can I apply the student toolbar to my own existing projects? I think this you kind of just showcased. So uh, it's in the Automation Studio options. I don't know if you show that again there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just here towards the bottom. We have the option here to display. Display the student tab. I have currently set so that it's only showing the simplified one. But if you uncheck this, then you have, like Christian showed in the presentation, you can have the student tab and all the other tabs. So
mm.
yeah.
Keep in mind, this is just a simplified interface. All of these other tools like the layouts, the surface, the lines, the drawing tools, the oscilloscope, all of these different tools are available in the home tab, edit tab, simulation tab. It's just we regroup them in the student tab just to have a simplified layout for students. Uh, okay, let's see here. Yeah, we still have some time for questions. Let's see what else we have. Um, This is one we kind of answered already. I don't know if we want to showcase, but do you have some existing projects that can be shared and used as is for training? I don't know if we can showcase maybe where to get the 300 some demo files that we shared.
Yeah, I can show you that right now. Let me just hold on. I just want to share my screen. Okay, perfect. So first of all, when you launch the software, you will have access to the demo files, okay? But if I'm already open here, let me just bring here a new browser window on Google. So if you go to famictech.com/demos, okay, this is a direct link, but I'll show you how to go after. It takes a bit of time to load because we have over 300 demo files, so it needs to open up on the same page. But you can sort them after for hydraulic, pneumatic, electrical, and so on. So you see, these are the demos. So you can click on the component on a file like that to preview it. If you want it, you just go here and you just download the file. Okay. So if you go specifically for PLC, for example, or just hydraulic, pneumatic, you see, so we try to combine them in different technologies. But sometimes, like I say, for this one, you see, we have pneumatic and electrical. So if you've only purchased the pneumatic package, you will not be able to open this file because there's some electrical in it as well. Okay, so that's why we're saying with the compatibility of the package. But here are all the demos that you can open on the website. So if you go, if you're already on the site, you go support, then you go learn and explore. In here, you see you have access to the quick start guides, to webinars, demo files, training videos, and so on. Okay, so this is the location where we send you basically when you become a new customer to have any videos or document to help you get started efficiently with the software.
Good, thank you. I see we have one more question here. I see that you have preset colors of wires for specific virtual trainers. Can these colors by default be changed to fit our needs and our standards?
Definitely. If we take, for example, the residential electricity, we have created, first of all, the North American, let's say, model for residential. But we're working right now on creating a Europe model, also a South American model for, they work with 220s and the switch look different. Even the breaker looks different and things like that. So we're going to make more versions. And for example, if we go into the tools here and we go electrotechnical, we see here at the bottom, we have the color types of the different wire that we're using. Okay, if we go in editing mode, sorry here, we have all the different colors. You see line 1, line 2, line 3, and so on, ground. And so we can set these to be different and you can choose the one that you want to use. For example, I know like in France, for example, the ground is green and yellow. So you can definitely create that line green and yellow to fit your desired wire color. Same thing as the three-phase motor wire. Before we had I think we had orange, blue, and black. If you want to have 3 different colors, just change it. Okay, this is definitely a function that we have, and we can help you do that if you need to.
Very good. Just maybe a small comment on one of the previous questions. For the hydraulic pumps, for example, if we go, Christian, in the hydraulic cross-section library, we do have one for pressure compensated axial piston pump, and we have another one for the load sensing axial piston pump. I don't know if you want to just showcase that. It's in the sectional components. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you go to the pumps, yeah, you see you have these two also. Yeah, so in any case, if there's components that we don't have, you can always ask us. But those are simplified examples for those there. If you have any other ones that you need, just always let us know. So we won't try to put this together and create an entire file, but just to show it that at least those components do exist. Let's see if we have other questions. I think we still have time for others, but don't think. No, I think we've passed through all of the questions. Okay, just again, thank you guys all so much for attending this this webinar. Again, for those of you who have registered, the video will be available to you through a link that we'll be sharing for all registered participants. So you'll get that within 24 hours. Usually it's 24 hours afterwards that we send it. Please do feel free to join us again next week for the upcoming webinar. Thanks so much for everybody for attending. Thanks again for Christian and Shane for joining me in this this presentation. Thank you so much and have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye for now.